So before we get into this video, you're probably not used to seeing my face on these. Hello. I just wanted to very quickly preface that I went through this whole video and this whole review before kind of checking the functionality with different subscription levels. So I'm doing this review on a free trial. So a lot of the things that I bring up during this kind of trial and this review of Parta, you can actually do a lot of it if you have a paid subscription. And I figure this out at the end, and then I talk a little bit more about it then. But I just wanted to kind of preface this because if you are familiar with Parta or you've heard of it, and then you sort of start watching this video and go, "Oh, Emma, you can do all of this stuff." I am aware now, and yes, I probably should have started off by looking at those subscription levels. So this one will be rated, I suppose, and reviewed slightly differently than some of the other Emma Tries videos. But yeah, enjoy. Welcome back to another Emma Tries video, and today we are looking at Parta. And Parta was another one that was very kindly recommended to me, and I'm actually really excited to try this. So from first looking at it, and I haven't been into the editor yet, so this is just me kind of getting a kind of overview or a feeling based on their website. And from face value, it looks a little bit like Captivate in terms of the way you build the pages and add in these kind of blocks and that. But I have a feeling that it's going to be a lot more user-friendly than what Captivate is. So they kind of market their authoring tool as something which allows you to create fast courses. So they're going down that rapid authoring tool route. That allows these kind of pre-built interactive elements like the quizzes and hotspots and sliders and all of that kind of stuff. And essentially, they're kind of pushing this as something that allows you to create courses very quickly whilst making them look good. So we will see if that is the case. But from looking at the screenshots, I'm quite excited to get in and have a look at this. It looks like there's some good interactivity here. We've got things like slide to reveal, obviously like flashcards and things like that. And they also say that you can create really great stuff without CSS as well. So they've mentioned here you can add in like custom code for your own template. But I always like authoring tools that mean you don't have to know kind of JavaScript or extensive coding, because I am not by any means an expert in that. So it says you can create endless variations by combining templates and designing your own in our no-code editor. So I'm super intrigued by that as well. So let's jump into the authoring tool itself and start to have a play around and see what we're working with. So before I get into actually playing around with the tool itself, I always like to kind of give an overview of the UI and what I think about the kind of general ease of use of these tools. And so this is the kind of welcome screen that you're given when you first jump into this tool. And from face value, it's quite simple. I quite like that. It's not the most visually striking landing page, I suppose, but that's not necessarily a problem. We've got obviously visibility of the projects you're working on, access to the help center and any updates, and then you've got your projects list here. I would say I'm not a huge fan of these tiny little green buttons. When I first landed on this page, it took me a while to be able to see where there is a like new project button, and it's this tiny little green plus sign here. Which even the white kind of cross in the middle you can barely see. So I would prefer a larger button, something that's a little bit more obvious of what you've got to click on. Like we've got here where it says add project. That duplicated on this page would be really handy. But it looks very clear in terms of what you need to click on. We've got things like resources, tasks. So if you are working on this with other people, so we've got a users button here. So if you've got multiple people within your organization and you're all working on something, you can add tasks here. Then that's really cool. I like that. I mean, you could put something like in here for the graphic designer or the instructional designer or whatever, and you can all track the progress as a team. So I like that. That's a really cool feature. We've also got things like branding. So I haven't set any of this up yet. This is literally my first kind of look at all of this. You can create and add in your branding, fonts. So if you want to upload custom fonts, very similar to what you can do in Rise, and collections as well. So before we go into creating a new project and playing around with all the functionality and all the fun stuff, let's just have a look at this branding section. So when you click on branding, this is what it brings up for you. And this is where you can edit your text color, your button color, typography, all of that kind of stuff. So you get a really good range of customization here, I would say. You can change kind of your color scheme by using the slider, or you can type in your hex codes. And I like that it live previews as well, because one of the most frustrating things I find is if you're editing a theme, but you're not actually getting a preview of how it's going to look, because then you have to keep saving and going back in. So I like that it live previews, and you can see obviously the buttons here changing color too. We've got like the hover color when things are disabled. So if I go on to text, we've got our primary text color, secondary text color, which is like this bit here, and it makes it super clear as well as to what you're editing. Two accent colors, which are like this green that they've got here. We've got primary colors and additional, which will be related to things like your questions and that. We've also got border and shadow. So with this is related to the interactive elements itself. So I love a rounded border, so I'm going to put that on. And how strong a shadow you like. Ooh, retro is quite cool. I'm going to go for a soft, or do I? Ooh, okay, regular. See, this is where you can see my like indecisive coming out. And then you can upload your logo as well. So that's just on those default theme settings. So if we now come into typography, you can see that you get a real good range of different customization options for typography. You can change your kind of basic body text. You've got headings, all the way down to heading 4. We've got captions. And I really like that they give a description of what that typography is used for. So we've got here, it describes that captions are things like labels for images and graphs and that. We've got quotes and links as well. And you can change the font style, the spacing, and also the colors as well, which is nice. So for example, on this, you can change the little line color. And things like this just really speed up that development side. So you don't have to be going in and every time you add a quote, changing this line color or resizing the text or anything. If once you've done the setup here, that's kind of all done for you. And it should, in theory, then make the build of these courses quicker and easier. And you can also see how it's going to look or how it will perform across different devices. And this is great. I love this, that you can actually change the font size across devices too, if you want. I would probably leave it because I am assuming what it does is kind of automatically sizes it based on what it thinks is going to be good. But if, for example, you publish this for mobile when actually I know that I've got a very large demographic completing this that maybe have visual impairments, we're going to make the text a lot bigger on mobile. So you could then go, actually, let's make this up to 20 to make it really readable. So that is an awesome feature to have as well. If we go over to section, so what have we got here then? If I click on header, so here again, you can really deep dive if you like and change things like the color of the menu button, the little, almost like a favicon, like a little logo here, the thickness of like the border, all of that kind of stuff. So you get so many different options in terms of theming and making this look really cool. Again, you can change the font here for your counter, so your progress bar, the color of it, navigation buttons. You can even upload pictures. So if you've got a specific pattern or you want to do something, you know, very custom to your brand or whatever, you can do that as well. So I won't go through all of these because there is quite a few actually. And the same goes for the elements as well. So if I click button, again, you can preset all of this stuff, which is just insane. And I think just setting this all up alone would probably take you a pretty significant amount of time. But the good thing is that this then gets saved. So if I jump back to style, this has obviously just been labeled default brand, but this is saved. And I'm going to assume, which I will clarify once I get into the main project builder, that I would then be able to apply this theming to multiple projects. So if you're working within an organization or working on a suite of e-learning that all have very similar branding, you would be able to just apply that theme. And so really you'd only have to set this up once and then you could use it across multiple projects. So yeah, I mean, first impression in terms of customization, fantastic. And it looks like you can really brand these to look how you want them to. So let's actually jump into the project builder. I'll come back and sort of off camera kind of fill in all of this branding stuff and actually build something out properly. But let's just have a look in the editor itself and get a feel for kind of the functionality and the interactivity and everything. Okay, so when you create a new project, you get sent to this page. And this did have a really nice diagram on it when I first came in that sort of said a very brief overview as to what these different buttons are for. So we've got a cover page, and it did let you know that you only get one cover page per course, which makes sense. Content pages, which is where the main bulk of your course will sit. Chapters, which is how you can obviously structure your courses into sort of sections, I suppose. And then a quiz as well. So if I click onto my welcome, and you can see that if I just jump back a minute, that's grayed out now because I've used up my one welcome page. So this is where things got a little bit confusing, and I played around with this off camera because I was getting a little bit confused. So you click add block to start editing, and it gives you the option of these 6 different cover page designs essentially. But it doesn't let you just build a cover page from scratch. And I have played around with it and tried every button, and it just will not let you, because I wanted to kind of build a cover page from the ground up, really, like choose whether I wanted images or text or this or that. And it was having none of it. It was just not letting me. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I click on, let's just go for, I don't know, let's go for cover 4 here. And I click add, and then you can see it gives you this very nice looking cover page, I suppose. And we've got our course program and a little bit about the course. And I thought, well, I don't really want this at the top. Like, I'm not interested in having my name or anything like that. And if you click on it, there's no option to kind of delete it, like delete this text or delete this block. But there's no delete button. I don't think it's like really obvious. I've tried kind of clicking everything. I can't find it. The same with this. I wanted to kind of move maybe the course heading over to the left to be left aligned. And you can't do that. It literally won't let you sort of do anything. I mean, I can align it left as in like the actual text left, but it won't let me kind of like move the block, and it won't let me delete it either. And the same with this button. Like, I didn't really want this button because it doesn't really serve a purpose, to be honest. But I can't see anything that allows me to delete it. I can only delete the image if I want to, and I can delete the picture here as well if I want to. So that's a bit strange. And like I said, I have tried sort of deleting things and moving things, and it won't let me. And you can see here, it's grayed out. It just won't let me do it. Like, the author has to be part of this particular template. And you're not allowed to just start fresh from just blocks either. So if I click on block list, you can see it just won't let you. Like, you have to go with this particular template design, whichever one you choose. So that's a bit of a downside. I mean, I don't know if that is just linked to the fact that I'm on a free trial and I'm not on a full subscription. I have no idea. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, because I'd quite like to have the option at least to create a blank template. And I'll go back in and just double check I am not being really silly here. There is no sort of create new template or blank template. If I click all, it is just those 6 options. There's like no other option to do anything else with it. And if I click on collections, you can see you can add things to it as well. And again, I don't know whether this would, if I had a full subscription, whether there would be things under like this corporate heading and everything. I don't know. But yeah, that's a bit of a shame. I would like the option to be able to create your own cover page. So let me come out of that one, because again, I'm going to try and sort of semi-build out a course in this just so we can see how it looks. But let's jump into the content pages where we actually do get visibility of the different blocks as well. So here you can see I've just started adding a few things, and these you can literally do it from scratch. So that's great. It's just those cover pages that they're a bit funny about. And up here you can see you get to view it in the different device views as well. So that's really good. I like that. And again, you can add templates to these as well. So you do get, with the interactive elements, you do get quite a few different templates here. And these I can see actually being quite useful, particularly when it comes to things like the cards and the charts and that kind of stuff. So as I was kind of saying, I like to have both options, being able to use a template if I like, but actually also being able to do things from scratch. So super easy to add a new block. You just click these little plus icons here, or you can just click add block. Nice and obvious. And you can see now with this view and on this particular kind of page builder, that if I click on the video element, it actually gives the option to delete it now. So that was what was missing from that cover page. But again, I don't know why that is. I'm sure there's a reason behind it. So let's have a look then at what interactivity we get. So they broke it down into nice categories, which is always handy. We've got text, image, list, multimedia, interactive, and we've got things like separators and that. What's affirmation? I'm guessing, is that like, I don't know. Oh, there's nothing under there. Okay. Oh, separators are quite nice. We've got dividers, like coloured dividers. You can also have sort of line-based ones and empty blocks, which I will imagine, but I will double check, will function very similar to like the spacer tool in Rise, but we'll see. Got number dividers, and this is quite interesting as well. I'll come back to this because I'd imagine this will also sit under the interactive category too. So let's have a look at our text-based ones then. So pretty much as they are. We've got lots of different options here in terms of heading styles. We've got headings with dividers. We've got blocks, comparisons, introductions. Not so sure about that image layout there, but I like this one. I love this style here as well. We've got like an introduction. We've got it with just text. And first impression, I don't mind it being in this format, but it's not super easy to find what you want. Like, I kind of wish that it was more, it kind of said like text, and then there was all the headings, and then there was all the introduction text. This was a little bit chaotic in this type, sort of tile-based format. And that may just be my personal preference, but it's not super obvious, I think, in terms of being able to quickly grab a heading, quickly grab this, or even just a blank text box. I can totally see why they've gone down this route of templates, because they have marketed this as a rapid authoring tool. The idea is that people building these courses could just come in and go bam, 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 grab all the things they need, and there we go. So I can understand it, but for people that want a little bit more kind of fluidity, or I suppose freedom in design, these kind of things can feel a little bit restrictive. But let's jump into this one, because I like the kind of layout we've got here. And to move things up and down, I believe you've just got to press the arrow. There we go. Move the block up, and it just moves it in front of this video. I'm actually going to get rid of this video because I don't think I'll be using it. And then to edit this, we can literally just click on the image and replace, obviously add alt text, which is super important. There's a zoom function. So for example, if this was a diagram and you wanted people to be able to zoom in, I realize I'm also still in tablet mode. So let's jump back into web version. And here you can edit your text. And obviously if I'd set all the theming up, this would be in my theme as well, if I've applied the theme to this. And you can set your text hierarchy again, which is super important too. So as I kind of expected, because this is a responsive platform, you cannot drag things around, which can be frustrating. But as I kind of said in the kind of Captivate review and a couple of the other authoring tools as well, I do understand the logic behind why they do this, because this is what ensures that it is responsive and does resize nicely across those devices. And I'm not too mad about this kind of structure as long as they do give you that variation of layouts, and they do it does actually scroll, like go down the devices nicely. Whereas, for example, Gomo, if you've seen that one, you'll know my frustration that it didn't go, it was restrictive, and it also didn't go down the devices very well. So let's just triple check this. So we had it in tablet view, so it looks pretty nice in tablet view. And then we've got mobile version. So you can see the image does scale down quite nicely. I'm also going to assume as well that there isn't the option to like resize these. It will be the size that it is set as well. And you can see here, they've actually layered an image on top of an image, which is interesting. And again, I can delete this, but I wouldn't then be able to just grab an image and slot it in. So no, I don't think so. Let me click on image a minute. So I can get in like big. I love the way they've labeled that as big image. Yes, I wouldn't have thought I can. I mean, I could do it this way and go like image full screen. And let's just move that up. Delete the image out of here and out of here. But then I would need to essentially, instead of having this, because I can't, can I now delete this? Oh, I can delete this actually. There we go. Just deletes the whole block instead. So I then have to go into text and get a heading with a caption. For example, that's a heading 2. Is there a heading 1 with a caption? There is. And click add and do it like that. So that's kind of the way that you would build it custom out, which again is why I kind of wish there was a slightly different layout to their block library, in that you could have the templates, but also just the plain blocks. So these headings here would be separate from this, so that you could quickly grab a heading if you wanted, quickly grab an image if you wanted, without having to muddle through all of these pre-designed templates as well. Because like I said, for people like me, I prefer to just piece things together myself. And occasionally I will use a template like they've provided here. But I do like to have the freedom to sort of build these blocks out myself. And I think it would be easier if we had that separation of templates, but also plain blocks too. So just a bit of constructive criticism there. As far as I am aware, you cannot change the padding either. And this, again, is something that sometimes frustrates me with these authoring tools, in that you can't sort of move the white space, because sometimes you can be left with like a ton of white space above or below blocks. So for example, in this, we've got a little bit of white space here, which in this instance looks absolutely fine, but sometimes it can make your courses look very blocky, because you can clearly see when it moves from one interaction or one block to the next. So again, I'd love to see the option to be able to play with padding, and that isn't something that usually impacts responsiveness either, because all you're doing is essentially decreasing or increasing the white space above and below a block. So in theory, it shouldn't impact the responsive nature of the course. So yeah, I would love to see something like that. And again, you can't change the block width either. So I can't make this full width as far as I'm aware. It has centered it. And again, I'm assuming this is to do with it being responsive as well. So let's carry on and just explore the different blocks that they give you. So let's go down to multimedia. I'm just going to quickly jump onto list and have a look. I'm assuming that is what it is. Yeah, it's just the different list functions. Quite like the idea of a icon list though, that's cool. Multimedia, so what do we get here then? We've got a image and a video. We've got a video with a transcript, that's quite nice. Got video and a caption. We've got code, audio as well. So not tons. And again, the way they've kind of labeled this out is a bit strange. I would obviously usually group image under multimedia. So it does make this multimedia page look a little bit sparse, But yeah, I mean, that's, again, that might just be a personal preference from myself. So interactive, this is the one that is always the most exciting, let's be honest. So we've got accordions with headings, we've got like with text, with images and text, we've got labels, cards in slider, I'm not entirely sure what that is, we'll have a look in a minute. Cards with background, dialogue simulation, that is very cool, I'd love to have a look at that in a minute. Grouping images, downloaders, I'm guessing that's where you can like upload things that they need to kind of go and access after the course. Map, that's interesting, never seen that before. Overview, which I'm guessing is like a flashcard key point type thing. Processes, simulations, self-assessment checklists. And again, it's this whole thing of, this is just a little bit chaotic in terms of the way it's categorized and the way it's labeled, like the fact that we've got accordion with divider, accordion with heading, accordion with image, accordion with text. Like, I wish there was more filtering with this so that, again, like I said, you could just look for, and I could just type in accordion, but when you're quite new to this and trying to figure out what you want to put in, it's a little bit overwhelming having all these different versions of the same block. It would be better if we could just scale this back a little bit and, like I said, have the option for the just an accordion block and then all of these templates separate. But first impressions, nice range of interactivity, some really interesting interactivity, particularly this one. I am going to have a look at that soon. And also the simulation, the web simulation. I like the slide reveal as well. This is quite nice. I love the layout of this. I quite often will do this in Storyline, like this layout. And what's cool as well is that you can actually interact with it in preview mode to see how it functions. So this is really slick here. And again, you can see, you can like try the interaction out before you insert it into your page. So that's cool. I like that as well. And we've got a timeline, and I love this vertical timeline as well. Okay, let's add in a couple of blocks and just start playing around with some of the editing functions as well. I think the rest of these kind of block libraries are what they are. Again, the scenario buttons, that's quite interesting. I'll add that one in and we'll have a look at that too. We haven't got anything under affirmation. I'm not entirely sure what affirmation would be. Maybe like testimonials or something? Questions. What questions do we get? Dialogue. Oh, that's cool. Dialogue with input. Okay, we'll add that one in as well. I need to write a list actually of all the ones we need to try out. We've got hotspots with feedback, image, selectors. We've got keyboard input, so like text entry, that kind of thing. Matching video. Oh, okay, interesting. We've got usual like multiple choice options as well. We've got ranking feedback. We've got things with audio. We've got all of like the scenario based ones here. An image with a multiple choice question. So cool selection, really good selection of things. Definitely going to have a play around with some of these too, especially like these scenario based ones here and the text entry ones as well, because you know I love a text entry exercise. Start is nothing, end is nothing, and cover, obviously we've done that already. So let me add in a couple of different blocks off camera and then I will have a play with them. Okay, so off camera, I've added in a few blocks and just had a play around with them. So let's discuss kind of what they're like and how they function. So I've added in, just to begin with, a really simple interaction with this tab one. And yeah, not a lot to say here. I mean, it's really easy to edit. You just double click on the text. If I wanted to see if it'll give you, no, so it doesn't give you a scroll bar. It will just keep expanding the block width based on how much text you input. And if you don't have like your theme set, you can change obviously the colors, all of that kind of stuff as well. And if it's like hyperlinked or anything too. So fairly simple to edit that. You can see on the side here, That's where you can add in another tab, and the colors will be based on what you have set in your theming as well. So if you do want to change the color of these tabs, you would have to go back and amend it within your theme, which is a little bit annoying, but that is, I mean, I've seen that on most of authoring tools of this kind of sort of format, I suppose. So I then added in another kind of an interactive block, and this one is their cards with slider, I think they call it. So you can see you can move between cards, and you press this one and it will flip it. And this is quite a nice animation. I like the way it kind of flips the card there, and you can choose what's on slide A and slide B. So not slide, sorry, side. So yeah, with this you could have it as an image, or you could just get rid of it, I think, and just have text if you wanted. And the same for the other side as well. So if I click the arrow, if I just double click the text, you can type in your own stuff. So you'd be able to edit that as well. And I believe the card background, the sort of black background here, would have to be amended again within your theming settings and not within the actual editor itself, which again, I don't know whether that saves time or not, because in some ways you could say, yeah, that saves time because you would make all these decisions before you actually get into the editor. But if you're doing different color backgrounds, sometimes you might want a different color flashcard, because say you've got a colored background here, you might want a white flashcard background instead of a dark one, because black against, say, a dark blue background wouldn't look very good. So that is a little bit annoying that you can't just decide to kind of change it. But again, it's not the end of the world. It's just one of those things where I think, oh, it would be good if I could choose in the editor what colour I would like the flashcard to be. Or even between like a dark and a light version. So this is where I was a little bit disappointed, which is really sad because I was really excited about this interaction. So this is the simulation interaction. And I thought that it was like a interactive kind of multiple choice question where these pop up and they're animated, and then the learner answers the questions. And, you know, I was getting a bit excited and a bit ahead of myself, to be honest. It's actually not like that at all. So this is a background image, which makes sense. This bit in the middle, again, is an image, and it's based on something called slides. So this whole thing with all of these speech bubbles is an image. So it's not animated, and I will show you in a minute on like the preview mode. You've got these kind of like, I suppose, a prompting question here which says like, which answer do you prefer? And they can select these. So they class these as like hints, I think, and you can set a hyperlink to go to a connected slide. So it will, depending on what answer they choose, depends on which slide they jump to. So you can get some like interactivity with this. Like you can make it branching, obviously. But each of these are images, just with these buttons. And if you could see me, I'd be saying buttons in inverted commas, because if you look, to add in like the interactivity, you just draw a box over the image and then you click create connection, and then you choose what slide it kind of jumps to within this simulation. So I like it. I mean, it's a good idea, and I think you could make it quite a cool interactive activity. It's just the fact that it's images, though, that I kind of was a bit disappointed by, because just from kind of looking at it on the preview, like I said, I thought it would be a bit more of a responsive kind of activity where if I, for example, selected this answer, it could give me feedback, or you could have sound effects or whatever. And maybe I'm asking too much from like a rapid authoring tool here, but if I click on to preview mode, I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see here, this doesn't animate or anything. This just is an image. And then you've got these kind of like highlighted boxes, which they have to choose between. And then again, you're given another image, and then you click continue, and so forth. And the problem with this is that if you are somebody that's not design inclined, you would need somebody to help you with this, because it is all image based. You would need somebody that's able to make it look a little bit good and a little bit interactive and engaging. Otherwise, yeah, it's kind of more like a glorified hotspot activity than anything else. And if I actually jump over to mobile, you can see you can't actually do it on mobile. It says it's only available on the desktop version. So it's not a mobile friendly activity either. So I think it works on tablet, but you can see that the boxes haven't scaled over correctly. So I'm going to guess that it would be really only applicable for desktop, which I always feel a bit conflicted about this, because I always think kind of what's the point in building an activity out or a block out within a mobile responsive tool if it's not going to be mobile responsive. It just seems a little bit pointless, because there is then no way I would ever see myself using this particular block, because unless you were saying to people, right, you're only completing this on desktop, you're not allowed to complete it on mobile, what's the point of it? And then if you're saying that, you might as well use a tool like Storyline or something like that that is not necessarily built for mobile, because the point of these responsive tools is that you can use it across multiple devices. But anyway, that's my rant on that. So yeah, a little bit disappointed with that, to be honest. I was really kind of excited that that might be some really standout functionality from this tool, but no, unfortunately not. The same goes with this one. So this is their simulation for like software, and it's exactly the same. This is all image with just highlights. So I think in this instance it kind of works. I've seen a lot of software simulations that are very similar to this, and if I preview it again, you can see you get these little bubbles that pop up. So this actually I think is fairly good and is a really nice way of doing very simple software simulations. So if you just needed to direct someone on how to get on a certain page on your intranet or something, this could be pretty handy, because it is just like a walkthrough. So I like that one, and I think is similar. I don't think this is available on mobile either. No, unfortunately not. That is a desktop one too. So I like that simulation tool for that kind of specific use. I think that is quite useful actually, and like I said, would be good for really simple sort of walkthroughs of software. The only thing is, I cannot see for the life of me where you change the text that pops up. So if I click hint settings, is it on that? No. Create connection. Let me add another hint in and just see if it kind of gives me the option to type in any text. No, it doesn't. So I wonder where they've got that from, unless that is no, because it's not embedded into the image, is it? Give me a sec and I'll come back to you. I found it. But again, it wasn't super obvious actually. So when you click on the hint space, you've got to put your mouse over and click add hint, and it pops up like a little bubble, and then you can obviously change the text. So that wasn't super obvious that that's how you do it. But yeah, that's how you kind of add in that accompanying text to tell people what to do. And I wonder if it's the same one here. Yeah, you can add instructions to the clickable area. So these are essentially the same block. They've just used them for different reasons. So like I said, I wouldn't necessarily see myself using it for this kind of thing. I like the idea, but I think it wouldn't be worth the work. For software simulations, I like it, but it's really let down by the fact that you cannot use it on a mobile or a tablet. We've then got something called active labels, which is essentially a labeled graphic. And again, kind of very simple stuff. You just type in your text, you can add images and stuff as well. And as I pointed out, all the colours would have to be changed based on your theme, and you can't change these marker colours whilst you're in this editor. And I like this one as well. So we've got here a timeline interaction where you can add in your little buttons. Essentially, it is another version of a labeled graphic. I really thought that this green line here, I thought this was like something that would build. And I think I've gone into this with my expectations way too high, to be honest, because I thought that as they clicked on the buttons, this green line would build down to show their progress. No, it does not. It's just part of the background image. So yeah, I really need to lower my expectations sometimes. And we've got a tab exercise at the bottom where I was just playing around with things. So yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed. Again, like I was just saying, I don't know whether that's because I just set my expectations like way too high and I shouldn't have done. But I mean, I still think you could create some good things. There's enough range of interactivity that you could create courses that are varied enough in terms of what you're asking the learner to do. I didn't input any of those text entry ones actually, so let's just have a quick look at those questions before we move on to looking at kind of customization and things. So what's this one? Dialogue with input. There we go. Let's try that because that seems quite interesting. So you can add in the question and then the learner has to write their answer and then they click submit. And I'm guessing they get feedback, accepting answer, but not that I can see what the feedback is. Display feedback, yes. Oh, there we go. Okay. So you can have the option for them to have feedback as well. So the correct answer is 1, and then any response you can type in the feedback here. So example feedback. Okay, let's display this on preview mode and just see how it looks. So there's your first bubble, and let's type in our answer, just example answer, click submit, and there we go, you can have feedback. So this could be good for kind of like text entry exercises if you've got a specific answer. I think, I mean, you could use it for things like this, but then you'd have to think about what the point is, because if I, for example, used it in this kind of vague way, okay, so they ask when order it's meant to ship, you kind of, looks like your order will ship on, and you type the answer there. You could, I suppose, carry on the conversation and have this pretend customer going, okay, great, blah, 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 or whatever. But I think you'd need to build it out a bit more. It needs an instructional designer on this because this isn't a very good example. You could say here, you know, you choose between certain options and then input the answer. I think you'd have to build these as part of like other interactions. So maybe first up here, you might have a question that says, a customer needs to know about their order. When do you think is an appropriate timescale to ship in? And they might click 1 to 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, or whatever. And then they might be prompted to then go, okay, you've chosen 2 to 3 weeks. Type your answer into the conversation box here. And then they'd get an example customer response that would say maybe like 2 to 3 weeks, that's way too long, blah, 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 blah. And then they might be prompted to think about how they would deal with the response or write an example response. So I think this as a standalone thing doesn't necessarily do a lot, but I can see how it could really nicely slot into a scenario activity. And I think I'd much rather use this kind of functionality than this one up here. I think it'd be better to kind of build it out with this. That's probably a really long-winded way of saying you could use it for scenario questions. We've got a very similar thing here. So we've got like a keyboard input, essentially like a basic text entry activity. So if I click onto that one, and you can see that the learner can write their answer in and then they can get feedback, which again, this is great for reflection. I mean, I love any kind of authoring tool that gives the option for the learner to physically type things in. It just adds that level of reflective and getting them to actually apply the learning to themselves. So yeah, obviously very simple, but I really like that. And it's always handy to have that option as well. Matching with video. Let's have a look at this. I wonder if that is literally just because you play the video and then you just match. Yes, it is. Okay. See, that's the problem. They give them like titles that mislead me and make me think that it's like something more than it is. Reply with input. What is that? Let's have a look. Reply with it. So you guess the correct answer, and then what happens after that? I guess the correct answer is blue. Submit. It's wrong. And then I'm just told to try again. Okay, so that again is just another version of this, really, to be honest. It's just a different way of displaying a text entry. And that's the thing with these templates and the way they've like named all of this stuff, is that it makes you think it's something different, but it's just the same interaction, just laid out slightly differently. There was one more I wanted to look at. Here we go. Scenario with input, and scenario was multiple single choice, and scenario multiple choice. I think this essentially means multiple choice and multiple response. So these are quite good. Again, like I said, with the one up here, the dialogue with input, that is essentially what this is. They've just added an image to make it like a scenario. But yeah, you could combine these like blocks together to create a kind of more sort of fleshed out scenario activity. I don't know if I've covered, but you can also add in multiple blocks at once. So you just select as many as you like, and you can favorite them as well. So if you're using quite a few of the same block a lot, then you can just favorite them, and that can also help with being able to grab stuff when you need it. Is there any other ones that I wanted to have a look at? Ranking with feedback. Oh, that could be quite good. I think that, by the looks of it, looks like so that's just a sequencing activity essentially. And we've got multiple choice with a slider, which just gives you multiple bits of information. Matching with feedback, keyboard input with feedback. And again, they're just sort of renaming the same sort of interaction, just different ways. Like keyboard input with feedback, they're just the same, except one's got an image on the back, one hasn't. Like that is the same interaction. So that can get a little bit confusing. Okay, I think that is pretty much all I want to cover. I don't really think there was anything on this that I felt was worth looking at. Full screen buttons and single buttons. Let's just have a quick nose at those. So they're just very, very large buttons. So that's just UI stuff. I don't think I could see myself using those, to be honest. And scenario buttons. Just have a quick nose at this one. Okay, and I'm guessing these just link out then. So you can download a button, continue, course navigation, that kind of thing. So again, yeah, you would probably use this, like I said, with other stuff to build out a decent activity. So that it might be that they get to choose between, like they've done here, different topics, and then they can go and they can choose to replace this lovely image of this lady with somebody else. And you can also change the scaling. So they've got this as full width, but you could have it fit. And the same with this woman here, I could fit, or I don't think it will change her much because she's centered. But as I was kind of mentioning, you can't move this around. So I could delete her if I didn't want her and just have the character incorporated into the background. But I can't move her across. And again, I'm guessing this is to do with the fact of this responsive kind of block column structure to this, that she's placed there so that she's not cut off the screen in other views. Because if I go down to tablet and mobile, oh wow, that is something. It doesn't necessarily go down to mobile as well. So I probably, you probably need to test that out a couple of times to make sure it's scaling okay. But yeah, I like it. Again, it's a little bit of a pain. You just can't move these. Like I find the positioning of these really odd. I would move this like up here instead and have it underneath, or at least just have them lined up. Like they're not even lined up there. That is a bit strange to me. And I don't even think you've got the option for buttons so that you could almost make this yourself. I think that is kind of what it is. So I can't see like an option for sort of just buttons or anything. So yeah, this is the downside of these column kind of rapid authoring tools, is that you are very, very restricted in terms of where you can move things and drag things and all of that kind of stuff. We've also kind of seeing a variation in the way the blocks are in terms of being full screen and that as well. So you'll notice that these are full screen ones, but this one here isn't. So if you are designing this in terms of the way you want it to kind of flow into each other, you'd have to be aware that on this block, for example, if I go down, this one isn't full screen. So if I set the background for this block, then it is going to kind of end here. And this would then just be white, or based on whatever you've set in your theme. And then it jumps to this full screen block. And the same with the tabs. I believe the tabs aren't full screen either, and nor is the text here. So you do have a bit of variation here in terms of it going wide, narrow, but you can move these. So I could instead go for fit. Oh no, that's just the image actually, sorry. No, you can't then. So this is a full width interaction. So you've also got that to just be mindful of. So before we wrap this up, because I think I have been yapping for a very long time, I'm going to just have a little play again off camera so that I don't sort of spend about 3 hours doing this, at the customization in terms of the design of it. I don't think I'm going to build a course out now. Just having played with it, I don't think it's necessarily worth it. I think I've kind of covered everything anyway. I'm just going to have a look at the design and just see, based on like changing a few of the theming aspects, how we could make this look, and we will go from there. So whilst I was trying to make my course look a little bit better, you can see I started to add in some of my Discovering Menorca branding. I actually came across a little bit of information that has really changed my opinion. So you can see I was wanting to add in some more text and have a blue background, and I was getting really frustrated that I couldn't set this particular block with a blue background. So I was doing a bit of research as to why this is. And I actually found that if you are on the Pro subscription, you get access to a lot more in the way of customization and sort of sizing as well. So I found a FAQ article of theirs about kind of like editing the blocks and everything. And I found that they actually offer 2 different subscriptions, so a Pro and a Creator. And with the Pro, you can see you get access to a load more customization options. So you can create custom layouts beyond those templates. And this also applies for the cover page. So you can actually create a custom cover page. You can merge interactive elements. So you can put some of those elements together. So I think that kind of comes with that creating custom layouts. You get advanced settings for things like your alignment, your sizing, your padding. So all of that kind of, when I was giving feedback around, I'd like to see, options to change the padding. You do get access to that with that Pro subscription. And you also, you can share templates with your colleagues and everything. And you also get access to a lot more branding options too. So being able to really customize your courses properly. If I jump back into this knowledge article that they've done, you'll be able to see better here. So this is with the Pro subscription. You get access to being able to change the alignment of everything. You can see you get to change like the padding. You get to change the size of images, all of that stuff, like the margins, everything. So you get essentially all of those customization options that I was saying I wish it had. It does have that. You just need to have that Pro subscription. So I think if you are thinking of kind of using this as your authoring tool, I would definitely go for the Pro, so that you have that option to really customize it more to kind of how you want it to look, particularly with this alignment and this padding option here, that I think is necessary for being able to make your courses look as good as they can be. So yeah, so that's interesting. Now that I know that, I think I don't really want to rate it. I think only having access to the free trial, and that free trial not having Parta's full range of functionality, I think I'm finding it really hard to actually give it a fair rating, because based on the free trial, for customization, I would have marked it at like probably a 3, maybe even a 2.5. Obviously, you get a very good amount of sort of theming customization, but when it comes to customization of those blocks, in the free trial version, you don't really get any. You can kind of just add them in as they are. So that being said, I don't think it would be fair to rate this in the usual way. Because I just don't feel like I've had access to the proper experience that this authoring tool could give. And I wish that with the free trial, they would give you access to everything. So all of this stuff, for even if it was for like 2 weeks instead of a 4 month or something, and then you'd be able to see it for what it can do and then make the choice as to if you want to subscribe to Creator or Pro. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to review this using my traditional kind of like scoring method of going through ease of use functionality, because like I said, I don't feel like this free trial gives you a very kind of well-rounded overview or access, I suppose, to what this software can do. So what I'll do instead is kind of weigh up the options of going for the Creator versus the Pro subscription, because the Creator, as you can see, pretty much has all the functionality that I got with that free trial. So if you were going to go for the Creator one, I would say just be kind of mindful that you are quite limited on the kind of functionality in terms of how you can edit things and move things around. If you're looking for a tool that is very quick to just sort of chuck things in and build out, and you're not massively fussed on the look and feel, maybe you've got very simple branding, or you're just looking to create things quite quickly and quite plainly, then this could be absolutely fine for you. You know, the template options allow you to create things very fast, and just literally input your text. So if you're happy to kind of do it like that, then this could be, yeah, as I said, a pretty good tool for you to use. It, in terms of the ease of use of it and the kind of UI, I would say it's fairly simple to use. It doesn't take long to pick up kind of how to add blocks and how to add pages and all of that stuff. There's certain areas where I think the UI could be improved. I'm not a huge fan of this white kind of plus sign against the green background. It's quite difficult to see. And when I was doing the simulation exercises, I struggled to find certain buttons, like how to add in those captions with the like text to tell the learner what to do. Things like that weren't necessarily very well labeled. So I think that's just an area that they could maybe just sort of improve on slightly, is just giving those little hints, or just maybe labeling things a little bit more clearer beyond just an icon. So yeah, ease of use though, I mean, it's fairly easy to use. It's not that hard. You just add your block in and put your text in and maybe upload your image and Bob's your uncle. Probably the most complicated bit is doing that theming, but because it gives you that live preview, it does help in terms of you being able to see what changes you're making. So I wouldn't say any part of this is particularly complex. But yes, I think if you're looking for something very simple to use, you're not necessarily looking to customize anything too much, you're happy to just sort of put your text within these templates and work with what they give you, then I would say you'll be fine on the creator mode. If you're someone like me that likes to create things that look quite similar to this, with kind of bold imagery, and you don't necessarily want the very obvious blocky look and feel, then you would need the Pro, definitely, to be able to edit these backgrounds, to be able to change the width of the text and the padding and play around with layouts and create those custom cover pages and everything. Then you're going to need the Pro plan 100%. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to create something like this, in terms of I wouldn't be able to do it in the similar style to I did the Rise build of this without that Pro plan. Let's just have a quick look at the sharing options. So you can choose it to be a public link, and let me jump back into the Pro just to see if that changes in terms of when you've got a Pro subscription. So here we go. You can export in SCORM, HTML, PDF, and share public links as well. So pretty standard for most authoring tools also. So yeah, I mean, overall impressions, just kind of not considering this pricing structure or the functionality, I do like it. I think it's definitely a beginner level authoring tool. It's not, like I said, it's not super complicated. You don't have to use any coding. It's all done for you, essentially, if you want it to be. So yeah, definitely beginner friendly. Functionality, I think you get a really good range of different interactions, different blocks, that kind of thing. And customization, I think, like I've said, without that pro, I would have to rate it quite low. With that pro function, that pro subscription, I'd imagine it would probably be a lot higher, and it probably would, um, you know, allow you to really customize your courses as you like. So mixed reviews and a bit of a strange one with this, but I really enjoyed it. And to be honest, I would really be tempted to sort of sign up to that pro subscription and try it out properly. I'd love to be able to recreate this within this software with all of those kind of customization options. So watch this space. I might sort of sign myself up and have another go at this, and we will see. But on that note, I'm going to end this video because I think it's got to be well over an hour by now. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one.